All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to, well, what is it? That's the big question. What is it tonight? Is it Torah Studies? Is it Pesach Boot Camp? But of course, what I say is, why can't we just have it all? It is Torah Studies. It is Pesach Boot Camp because we're doing a special holiday edition of Torah Studies. And I will tell you that from the moment we started the new book of Genesis a few months, almost 6 months ago now, we've been exclusively focused on Rashi, which has been a departure from, Torah Studies classes in the past. Tonight, throwback. Tonight is Retro Tuesday. Tonight, it's not about Rashi. Tonight, we're not going to analyze what did Rashi mean? Why did he ask that question? Why didn't he ask the question? Why did he quote that header? As you know now, the style of analyzing Rashi includes all of those, what we call diukim, all of those points of analysis. Tonight, we look at the holiday, the Passover. We try to gain some insight, and we are seeking to get inspired on our way, on our road to the Seder. Like if this were a pregame show, this would be called On the Road to the Seder. Here we go. So tonight's focus, as you've seen, I'm sure, in all of the promotional materials that we sent out, the emails and the emails. So you probably saw that the discussion is going to focus on a curious, magical, I would say, symbolic, please take a pass, custom of the holiday, and that is Elijah's cup. Now, please take a pass. So here's the big idea that I want to start with. The Seder is replete. The Seder is filled with customs. Every part of the Seder is a tradition, is a custom. Let's talk about some famous customs of, hello, good to see you. Let's talk about some famous customs of Pesach. What do we have? We have the custom of, what's a Passover Seder custom?
Afikomen.
Afikomen. We have 4 questions. Good. What else? What are your favorite Passover traditions, Seder traditions? Let's go. What do we got? 4 cups of wine. We got Afikomen. What else? Some other traditions.
Lean to the left.
Matzah, lean to the left. We got matzah. Yeah, it's a mitzvah, but we'll just call it a tradition. Something we do at the Seder.
How about the festive meal?
The meal. Oh, absolutely. You got to get the brisket. Got to get that lined up. Got to be ready. Be ready to eat.
Sweet stuff. What's it called?
Charoses. Good. Excellent. Look, there's a lot of customs from A to Z. It's wall-to-wall customs. We have, this is in no particular order. We have the marar, right? We have the vegetable dipped in salt water. We have the charosa paste that reminds us of the mortar. What else do we have? We have the egg. We have the shampoo. These are all Seder plate items.
Hillel sandwich.
Hillel sandwich. I love me some Hillel sandwich. Love the Hillel sandwich. It's actually my favorite sandwich. There's something about sandwiching some matzah in between 2 pieces of romaine lettuce in the middle of some horseradish that really gets the juices flowing. Good. What else? So and you have the traditions about what we say, when we say it, who says it, right? How they say it, what you use, how you use it, what you eat, when you eat it, how much you have to eat it, all of these traditions. And they all help guide the Seder experience, which makes Passover what it is. Tonight, we're going to focus on a tradition that takes place almost at the end of the Seder. But it's one of those mysterious, mystical traditions that warms the heart, warms the soul, and really evokes the sense that there's something deeper beneath the surface. The tradition that I'm referring to, of course, is the pouring of the cup of Elijah. We know it as, in Hebrew, as Kos Shel Elio, Elijah's cup. And typically we bring to the table a special goblet, a special cup that we call Elijah's cup. And we put it down. This is right before, let me think, when do we do this? I think right after we say the blessing after meal. Anyway, around the time that we pour the 4th cup, we also pour a 5th cup, the cup of Elijah. We pour it, and it stays on the table.
Well,
and
you don't fill it up before the Seder. It just is on there.
Correct.
Wait till
Correct. Yeah, you have the cup there, or people bring it there, and then you fill it up toward the end of the Seder that you fill up the cup. And it's coupled with this idea of opening up, that we open up the door also. We go with a candle to the door. We open up the door. We have the wine poured for Elijah. It's like a whole tradition. And
So Rabbi, when my son Andy was young,
yeah,
he went to open the door. His remark was, "What kind of car is he going to be driving?"
exactly. He's looking for the vehicle, Elijah's vehicle. Good. You know, I remember some Seders of old, you know, the adults would, or the parents would like kind of bump the table a little bit, make the wine spill. Looks like, wow, oh my gosh, what happened to the wine is going down. Elijah drank the wine. That's unbelievable. You know, these kind of, might call it Seder shtick, right? Seder things to keep the energy going, to keep the mystery happening. The question we're going to address tonight is a very simple question. Where does this tradition come from and why? And third question, what does it mean for us as far as a timeless message? So the three questions are, number one, what's the origin of this tradition? Number two, what's the meaning? In other words, why was it made? Not only when was it made, but why was it made? And number three, what does it mean for us in our lives today? So what we're going to do is explore a few theories. And I will tell you, the reason why I call them theories is because we don't know. We don't have a clear consensus as to why we have this cup of Elijah on the table, why we pour the wine in this cup of Elijah. We don't have an absolute ironclad chain of custody, as it were, of this tradition. What we do have are a few theories, and tonight we're going to explore them. We'll poke some holes in them, we'll analyze them, and of course, as you know, we're going to walk away with hopefully some deep meaning. So let's start, as any good exploration starts. Let's start with a story. The story was actually told by the great Hasidic master known as the Ruzhiner, Rabbi Yisrael of Ruzhin, who lived in the 1800s. And he told a story about a man and his wife, and the family was very wealthy. They had a lot of money. And so they bought a special cup for Elijah, pure silver, finest quality. I know gold has different numbers. I don't know if silver has maybe 925. There's some sort of silver number on it, right? So they bought the finest silver goblet, a big goblet. And as the story goes, hey, Sandrine, good to see you. As the story goes, he even affixed gems and jewels to the outside of the cup to make it sparkle, to make it shine. So he really went all out on this cup. It was his favorite possession. Well, you know what they say? There's a Wheel of Fortune, not the game show, but the life Wheel of Fortune. And sometimes you're up and sometimes maybe not so up. And this fellow, so his business soured. He lost some of his money. And soon he had to sell off some of his possessions to make ends meet. But there was one possession that he was not going to sell off, and that was his beloved Elijah's cup of Elijah, a silver cup, adorned with jewels. That he would not part with. That remained in his cupboard, his Passover cupboard, and he used it every year. Well, the Wheel of Fortune kept on turning south for him. He lost more money. And at this point, he really had to sell off everything. And he was prepared to make the very difficult decision to sell off this goblet that he had kept. Even when things got tight, he had always kept it. But it got really tight and really impossible to make ends meet. And he figured, this year, he's got to sell it. So he tells his wife, Passover's coming up, but we don't have any money. We got to sell this cup. And his wife says, no, we can't sell it. We can't sell. We always made a resolution that no matter what happens, no matter what else we'll sell, we cannot sell this cup. It's too precious, too special. The Seder's, the onset of Passover is approaching, and this man and his wife, they don't even have any money for any provisions for the Seder, matzah, wine, nothing. And it's Erev Yom Tov, it's the eve of the holiday. The daytime, Seder is supposed to be that night. They have nothing for the Seder. And they don't know where it's coming from. Can you imagine the desperation, not having and not knowing where it's going to come from? And the wife says, you have to believe that, we're doing the right thing by not selling Elijah's cup. We'll be taken care of. Soon thereafter, there's a knock at the door. What happens? The husband, he went to the synagogue to pray, and his wife was home. So while the wife is home and the husband's out, there's a knock at the door. The wife opens up the door, and there's a man with a very long white beard. This is that. Oh, hold on. This is how the story goes. A man with a very long white beard. And he says, I'm looking for a place for the Seder. And the wife says, we'd love to have you, but we don't have anything for the Seder. He says, oh, you mean food? She says, yeah. He says, don't worry about that. I have a whole wagon load of food. The food, I don't have a problem. I don't have a place to eat. So I'll bring the food. You provide the home, the hospitality, and boom, we'll be set. She's like, oh my gosh, this is a miracle. It's unbelievable. It's amazing. He brings in all the food. He says to her, here's all the food. I'll be back later for the Seder. Good. She gets ready for the husband comes back home from the shul, from the mikveh, wherever he went, and he sees the house is filled with food. So what happened? She says, a guy came in with a long white beard. He gave all this food. He said, I'll be back a little later. He says, I bet. Toba, what do you say? I bet this man is none other than Elijah the prophet. Because Elijah the prophet, he's got quite the legacy. He's got quite the resume. He's the only guy, one of the only guys that we according to our tradition, went to heaven alive. He didn't die. So he comes back from time to time. So he came back. The husband says, unbelievable. What a miracle. Elijah brought the food. I bet it's because his husband. I bet it's because you made sure that we didn't sell his goblet. He's rewarding us for the mitzvah of the cup of Elijah. They sit down to the Seder. They're waiting for the guest. It's dark outside. They're waiting. The funeral will start. They go through the Seder. And guess what happens? By the end of the Seder, right by the cup of Elijah, they open the door, and who's there? Elijah's there. And he gave them blessings. And he said, indeed, it was because of the great love for the mitzvah, for the Seder, for the cup of Elijah, that you were blessed with the provisions for the Seder, and you will be blessed that the wheel of fortune should turn once again, and that you should be blessed by once again regaining a livelihood, regaining wealth, etc. And so it was, and they all lived happily ever after. It's a story, a Hasidic story that the Ruzhner told about a couple and their encounter with Elijah, all due to Elijah's cup. Which begs the question, what's with the cup? I don't only mean the actual cup, but what's with this tradition? We take a cup, we pour a full glass of wine, we call it Elijah's cup, and what happens after the Seder? Everything else, you're cleaning up the table, then what? You got a cup of wine just sitting there. What do? You pour it back into the bottle. It's very special. It's very special. Some people Chabadniks sing a song, when we pour it back in. It's a whole tradition. What's the point? What's the purpose? What's going on? What are we doing with this cup? Why are we pouring it? What's the meaning behind it? What's the symbolism? And so today we're going to get into, like I said before at the opening, two theories and their modern application. What do they mean for us? So the first thing that we should probably relate, when investigating sources of customs and other Jewish activities, first place to start is always with the Talmud. If there's any source for good Jewish tradition, it's probably found in the Talmud. So we're going to study a piece of Talmud and really the Mishnah before the Talmud. Now, for those of you that took the most recent JLI course called Decoding the Talmud, this is a throwback. Text 1A, it's going to bring back a lot of good memories. You know what? Like the kids say, if you know, you know. With the acronym, if you know, you know. If you know, you know on this one. This is going to be a very cool throwback. So here we go. I'm going to share. Hold on one second. Let me get ready. Let me get the PDF ready online. Okay. Boom. Oh, here we go. Ramon, are you ready for this?
I am ready.
You remember this, right?
You-
Yeah, this is bringing back all sorts of good memories. Text 1a, this is from the Mishnah Pesachim, chapter 10. Arvei Pesachim, it begins. Don't eat too much before the Seder. You might get too full and not enjoy your matzah. After that, it says the following. Take it away.
Even the most destitute Jew should not be provided with less than 4 cups of wine, even if they are being supplied by the public food bank.
This is how, thank you. This is how important the mitzvah or the tradition of drinking 4 cups of wine. By the way, 4 cups of wine is a rabbinic mitzvah. It's a rabbinic tradition. So even someone that doesn't have the money to be able to afford it, they should be able to receive the funds from the public food bank. You might be wondering, what about our story? Why were they about to head into the Seder without any provisions? Why not go to the public food bank? The truth is, I was wondering that myself. Either there was no food bank in the town they lived in, there's no tzedakah fund, or maybe they were embarrassed to ask. Maybe they were, not so keen on asking for help because they had been wealthy before. Either way, the point is that if somebody is in need, we should definitely provide them with all four cups of wine, no less than 4. You don't say, well, you're anyway getting tzedakah. It's enough if you have 1. No, it's not enough if you have 1. You got to have all 4 cups of wine. Now, the Talmud continues. That's the Mishnah. The Talmud elaborates on the Mishnah. The Talmud explains in text 1b some more details about the mitzvah. Take it away, Ramon, please. We'll stick with you.
The sages instituted the drinking of 4 cups in the manner of freedom, and they attached a mitzvah to be performed with each one. Over the 4th cup, the leader of the Seder recites the complete Hallel and the blessing of the song at the end of Hallel.
Continue, please. Next page.
What is the blessing of the song? Rabbi Yehuda said, it is the blessing that begins with the words, "They shall praise you, Lord our God." Rabbi Yochanan said that one also recites the Nishmat prayer, beginning with the words, "the breath of all living things." The sages taught in a Braita, over the 5th cup, one completes Hallel and recites the great Hallel. This is the opinion of Rabbi Tarfon.
Okay, thank you. Now, there is so much to unpack in this reading. It's like, wow. From the beginning about there's a mitzvah with each cup of wine, to the middle, which is like getting involved in like specific prayers. And then the last thing, we talk about a 5th cup of wine, being the opinion of Rabbi Tarfon. What is going on in this reading? So what I want to do now is break this down. Let's understand the Talmud. So I'm going to go through it again, kind of like line by line or paragraph by paragraph, just to explain what the Talmud is saying. So we begin with, again, we're going to do this again, text 1b. The first point of this reading is that the drinking of the 4 cups needs to be in a manner of freedom. Now, the way we understand manner of freedom, how do you drink the 4 cups of wine while demonstrating freedom? What is the physical way that you do that? Good, Adrian's got it. You do a little leaning, because nothing says freedom like choking on your beverage. I'm kidding. That was a joke, right? Right. So we lean, and it's great, and it's fabulous. I don't know about you, but I love eating like this. And then someone's like, you need a V8? Remember that commercial? The V8 commercial? No. The leaning commercial? Some of you remember that.
Ari,
Anyway.
Leaning to the left, make sure you don't choke, because
I know. I was just joking. I'm kidding. I was just joking. That was just a joke. Yeah.
I was just reminding you.
Yes. No, you're right. You're right. To be free means that you're digesting properly. But the point is, you have to drink a derech eros, in a way of freedom, by leaning. And then there's a mitzvah for each cup of wine. We cut out the Talmud. You get the whole Talmud here. So let's talk about what are the mitzvahs with each cup of wine. All right, let's talk about this. What's the mitzvah with the first cup of wine? What do you do with the first cup of wine? You recite the Kiddush. That's a mitzvah. Every Shabbos, every holiday, you're saying that's a mitzvah. Second cup of wine is also connected with the mitzvah. What's the mitzvah of the second cup of wine? The second cup of wine, well,
They took us out.
Say it again? Yeah. Yes. Right. So good. Jay's got it. There's a bracha, there's a blessing that you say right before you drink the second. Well, let me back up for half a second. The second cup of wine is consumed after the bulk of the Haggadah booklet, meaning after you tell the story. So after you tell the story, starting with the 4 questions and going through the whole story and the Dayenu and, your bag of frogs, kit for the kids, your props, everything that you got. After all that, you say a blessing. Baruch atah Hashem, bless you, Lord our God, who took us out of Egypt from slavery to freedom and gave us this holiday, etc., etc. Let us say amen, and you say a special blessing, basically a blessing for telling the story. And then you say a blessing over the wine, you drink the wine. So basically the second cup of wine is associated with the mitzvah of telling the story. So cup number 1, Kiddush. Cup number 2, retelling the story. Cup number 3, when do we drink the third cup? Who knows? It's after the grace after meals. Well, that's a mitzvah. That's a mitzvah. The Torah says you will eat and be satisfied, and then you shall bless God. Thank God for the food, right? What was that shortened version? Rub, rub, rub. Thanks for the grub. Go God, right? That type of thing. Anyway, so that's that's not the blessing. Grace after meals we recite, and then after that we recite we drink the third cup of wine. So we have Kiddush, story of the Exodus, grace after meals, 4th cup. Fourth cup, the Talmud says, is associated with Hallel. Hallel. It's a mitzvah to recite Hallel. Hallel is songs of praise. All right. By the way, every time we say Hallel, there's a bracha before it and after it. So it's sandwich, all puns intended, sandwich with a bracha. So it's a mitzvah to recite Hallel. So again, every cup of wine, you hook into a mitzvah. Kiddush, telling the story of the Exodus, grace after meals, and reciting Hallel. Comes along the Gemara, the Talmud, and says, oh, hold on. There's one more opinion. Rabbi Tarfon. What does Rabbi Tarfon say? By the way, Rabbi Tarfon, if the name rings a bell, it might, but it also will ring a bell at the Seder. He's one of the rabbis that was sitting in Bnei Brak talking about the story all night until the students came to him and said, oh, it's morning. Y'all have been Sedering all night, right? Anyway, that's a Seder, right? No one was watching the clock. Can you imagine? A bunch of rabbis in a room discussing words of Torah, words of thanksgiving and praise for God. Beautiful thing. Anyway, Rabbi Tarfon is of the opinion that you have a 5th cup of wine. And he says that that's the one that you do over Hallel, and the other one you do over some other things. How exactly the placement goes, it goes, but there's an opinion that says 5. Now, we know 4 cups of wine because that's what everyone talks about. But Rabbi Tarfon in the Gemara, in the Talmud says, I hold there's a 5th cup of wine. Now, why does he hold 5? Why 4? I mean,
is he counting Elijah's goat?
Well, hold on. No. We're going to say that Elijah got cut. Well, hold on. Hold that thought. The reason is because when the Torah, when God tells Moses in the Torah about the impending Geula redemption, there's 4 languages that are used of redemption, or maybe a 5th, and depending on how you count, you make it 4 or 5. And so, right, and so you might have 4 cups. Rabbi Tarfon says you have 5 cups, and the question is, what do? You have one opinion that says 4, one that says 5. Now, I would say, I don't know if you agree with me, just go with 5. Like, we're not sure, throw an extra cup. What's the harm? Just, have one more cup. You'll cover all your bases. The opinion that says 4, you had 4, and you had a 5th. Like, what's the problem? It seems like an easy solution. The problem is that we have another rule.
Yes.
And that rule is is that text 2? Hold on, let me see. Oh, look at this, Adrian. Hold on 1 second. Let me pull this up. Adrian, please read text number 2. This is coming from the Code of Jewish Law.
After the 4 cups, we are not allowed to drink any more wine, only water.
So now we're seeing something. Thank you. Now we're seeing something problematic. If you're of the opinion that there's only 4 cups, that comes along with a caveat of not drinking any more wine at all. You can only drink a little water afterwards. So you couldn't just throw in a 5th cup just to cover your bases. You have to be sure whether it's 4 or 5. That's the Code of Jewish Law. Now, the Code of Jewish Law comes way after the Talmud, the Gemara. But the point of this is to say that you can't just say, well, we'll just go 5. Because if the law is really about 4, then the 5th would be a violation of going above him. In other words, the first thought would be, add another cup. Who cares? If it's wrong, I had another cup. If it's right, I had the cup. Well, we're saying now, if it's wrong, then it's wrong. Then it's not okay. If it's only 4 that you're supposed to drink, then you can't have a 5th. So now you have to choose. We thought before we're going to make everyone happy. Most of the rabbis say 4, we drink 4. Rabbi Tarfon says 5, we'll throw in a Rabbi Tarfon cup. Throw in an extra one for the road. Knock it down. See you later. See you tomorrow morning. Z's emerge, right? That's what I would have thought. No, comes along Kodesh and says, no, if it's only 4, you can't have a 5th. So now we're forced to choose a lane, 4 or 5. So what do? We drink 4. Because the majority of rabbis say 4. What about Rabbi Tarfon? We want to make Rabbi Tarfon happy. We love to try to find a way to get everyone involved, to get everybody, represented at the Seder, especially the Seder. We don't leave Rabbi Tarfon's opinion out. So what do? We have the 5th cup. What's the 5th cup? 5th cup is the cup of Elijah. We pour a cup of wine. We don't drink it. We pour a 5th cup to satisfy the opinion of Rabbi Tarfon. We don't drink it, because if you drink it, then that would be running afoul of text number 2 of the prohibition of drinking it. But we pour it so that we're including Rabbi Tarfon's opinion at the Seder. You guys with me? We just answered the question. Why the cup of Elijah? What's the point of Elijah's cup? Now you have an answer. Because in the Talmud, there's an opinion that says you have 5 cups. So even though we don't drink the 5th cup, we pour the 5th cup to have his opinion represented at ye old Seder. Yeah? Make sense? By the way, this is not my opinion. This is not I didn't come up with this. All of this is coming from the Vilna Gaon. Yeah, the Vilna Gaon. Now, before we get there, I got to tell you something else, an unbelievable insight. Sometimes I want to add a little flavor to what I just said. Sometimes the Talmud will ask a question. And I know some of you have studied Talmud here, some of you prolifically, and you'll know this word that I'm about to say. Sometimes the Talmud will bring a question and not answer it. And it will end with the word teku. What does the word teku mean? Teku means
when Elijah comes, we'll have the answer.
Oh, one second. Hold that thought, Jay. Hold that thought. Teku literally means, teku in Hebrew means it's a tie. In a soccer game or football, right?
Yeah.
A tie is called teku, meaning we're stuck. It's indecisive. So typically teku means we're at a standstill. However, the Shalah HaKadosh, the great Shalah, lived a few hundred years ago, lived in the 1600s. He has an interesting explanation of the word teku. Teku could come from the Hebrew word. It could be an Aramaic, the Hebrew word tikom, stand, or stand back, like we're not sure what to do. But there's a deeper angle or an interesting angle in text number 3. Sandrine, please read text number 3. The Shalah HaKadosh explains the meaning of the word teku as an acronym.
Some say teku is an acronym for the Hebrew phrase, Elijah will resolve question and problem.
Oh, as Jay just said, listen to this. Teku, Tishbi, Yitaretz, Kushyot, V'ibayot. Tishbi, who's Tishbi? Eliyahu. Oh, Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu HaTishbi. He's referred to in scriptures, Eliyahu HaTishbi, Elijah the Tishbi. Why? Most say because he came from a place called Tishbi. So Tishbi, Elijah, Yitaretz, Kushyot, V'ibayot. Elijah's going to answer the problems, going to answer all the questions. What does that mean? Let me explain very quickly what this reference is to. There's a longstanding Jewish association between the Messianic redemption and Elijah the prophet. And it says that when Mashiach comes, Elijah is going to be around. And he's going to be around because he went up to heaven in a chariot of fire. He didn't die. So he's going to be the only one around that was an unbroken chain of, connected all the way back to the original tradition. So if you have any questions in matters of law that we're stuck with now, when Mashiach comes, Tishbi Yitaretz Kushyot V'ibayot. Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Tishbi, is going to answer, Elijah the Tishbite is going to answer all the problems that we have, all the questions, including the question of 4 cups or 5 cups. In the meantime, we pour him a tall glass of wine, and we say, you know what? When you when you get here, we will celebrate with you. Text number,
Question,
yes,
time-wise,
yes.
the Talmud with when was Rabbi Tarfon?
Rabbi Tarfon was one of the sages of the
No,
Mishnah.
Of the Mishnah, right.
Well, he's like with Rabbi Akiva, contemporaries of Rabbi Akiva. So in the
Okay,
yeah.
right. But then Rabbi Karo's Shulchan Aruch, that wasn't until it says 1565. So why?
1,000 plus years later.
Yeah, so why did he contradict what was in the
Oh,
Talmud?
he's telling us what the final ruling is. In other words, the Talmud brings a dispute, but the ruling is that we stick to 4. Now, who made up that ruling? Not Rabbi Karo. He didn't make up that ruling. That ruling, we have a tradition about what the ruling should be.
Oh,
But how do we honor the minority opinion? Again, we have this 5th glass. And why is it associated with Elijah's cup? Just pour a 5th cup. Why are we roping? Hold on 1 second. Maybe I needed to ask another question. If you have the 5th cup because of Rabbi Tarfon's opinion, call it Tarfon's cup. Why do you call it Elijah's cup? I think that's the question that I failed to ask before. Again, just to follow the narrative here, we said that 4 cups of wine you for sure need. A 5th cup of wine was, people were wondering, there was a dispute about that. So we would love to say just drink 5 and cover your bases, but if it's only 4, then you'll be in violation of that. So you can't drink the 5th. So what do? We pour it and leave it on the table. Great. So what do we call that cup? Elijah's cup. Why Elijah's cup? Call it Rabbi Tarfon's cup. Call it the name of the rabbi who said 5. Why do we call it Elijah's cup? Oh, we just answered that. Because Elijah's the one that will answer all the problems. So now we don't know. Is it 4? Is it 5? We think it's 4, but maybe 5. We'll drink 4. We'll pour a 5th. We'll leave it on the table. We won't drink it. We're unsure. Who's going to be sure? Who's going to answer the questions? Elijah the prophet. So what do we call it? Elijah's cup. Who says this? The Vilna Gaon, the great genius of Vilna, whose name was Rabbi Eliyahu of Vilna. Elijah, his namesake. Take a look at text 4. Toba, please read text 4 from the Vilna Gaon. Beautiful. Hold on 1 second. Let me pull this up. We are ready for it. Text 4.
the following is why it is customary to pour a 5th cup, which we call Elijah's cup. There is a Talmudic dispute as to whether we ought to drink a 5th cup at the Seder. The final ruling was never issued, so Elijah will resolve this question when he arrives. Because there is a doubt about this matter, we pour the 5th cup but do not drink it. We call it Elijah's cup to indicate that when he comes, this doubt, among all others, will be resolved.
Isn't that cool? So if you want an insight to share at your Seder, text 4 is the perfect insight, right? Why a 5th cup? Why do we pour it? Why don't we drink it? What's going on? We drink 4 cups. Why not the 5th? Why is it there then? Why is it called Elijah's cup? All of these questions. And he answers it with one simple thing. The Talmud says there's a dispute. We're not really sure which one it is right, 4 or 5. So we have to err on the side of caution, because if it's 4, then you can't drink a 5th. So we don't want to cross that line. So we have to err on the more cautious way, which is say 4. But what about the opinion that says 5? Okay, we'll pour it at least we'll have it on the table. And we say it's called Elijah's cup because Elijah, as soon as you're ready, come and answer the question, and we'll know whether or not it should have been 4 or 5.
What's really beautiful about that is that even from like a scientific standpoint, it makes complete sense that Elijah could be traveling the heavens for however much time, and he comes right back here, and it's almost, he comes right back.
Elijah's rocking and rolling. He's living in another reality.
Scientifically approved.
We cannot. Yeah.
I have a question. So
David, yeah.
what would be Rabbi Tarfon's mitzvah that's associated with the 5th cup?
Oh, good. So based on the Gemara, I kind of glossed over it before. But you know what? I'm going to pull up the text on the screen. You guys can also pull it up here. Text number 1b. If you look carefully, there's a lot of English translation of psukim, of verses. So it's really hard to piece together in just English. but there's two pieces of that last part of the Seder. There's two pieces. Okay. I'm gonna go to the Hebrew. Sorry. It's easier for me to navigate this. The English just doesn't do it for me. There's Yahalalucha Hashem Elokeinu and Nishmat Kochai. And then you have Hallel. So there's really two parts of what we lump together as, I mean, look, we literally call it Hallel Nirtza, right? The last two parts are Hallel Nirtza. So you would say that one is the mitzvah of Hallel and the other one is a mitzvah. I don't know. I hear your question. What is the mitzvah? The mitzvah is the other praise, not Hallel praise, but the other praise. I don't know. But what's also interesting about this is that as you look at the Talmud, it says the sages introduced 4 cups and that each is attached with a mitzvah. Maybe one could say that that's only the 4 cups that are attached to a mitzvah, but Rabbi Tarfon, he's on his own, right? Because that's how the Talmud starts. I don't know. I'm hesitant to say that. I'm more keen to say that when you have the last 2 steps of the Seder, Hallel Nirtza, which we lump together, Rabbi Tarfon seems like he was trying to separate them out. There's Hallel, there's Nirtza, right? There's the Hallel, and then there's the other Hallel, the verses of Hallel and other verses, and maybe each one has its own mitzvah on some level. Anyway, so I don't know, but that's what I was thinking. All right, that's a good question. So that's kind of how it lands. So in short, there's the dispute. We have to err on the side of caution, but we want to also include Rabbi Tarfon's opinion. So we have a 5th cup. Why don't we call it Rabbi Tarfon's cup as a callback to his opinion? Well, because what we're actually saying is when Mashiach comes and Elijah comes back, and then then we'll get the answer to this question, to questions, including this one, to call it Elijah's cup. All right. However, I love this answer. However, there is one little part that needs a little bit smoothing out, and that is, if we're really pouring this cup because of the opinion that says that we should have a 5th cup, so then why doesn't everybody pour a cup of Elijah? You with me on that? Just like everybody. Rabbi Tarfon would say that everyone has to drink a 5th cup. So if we're not doing it, but we want to symbolize it, why only symbolize one in the middle of the Seder table? Everyone should pour a symbolic 5th cup, leave it, and pour it back. It's not going to go to waste. You pour it back, get a little funnel situation going on over there. Make sure that wine's not spilling and messing up your tablecloth. But the core question is, if it's really about an opinion that says 5th cup, well, then that should be for everybody. Not my question. Question that other commentators ask on the Vilna Gaon's explanation. Why only one? Jay.
It's really a cup for Elijah to demonstrate.
Hold on. That's going to be a new answer. Hold on what you're saying. Good. It's a good answer. Let's develop it. Good. So again, just to be very clear here, I probably should have said this at the beginning, I'm going to give you 2 different legends. What we know is that we have a traditional cup that we pour and we don't touch. Why? Tradition number 1 or theory number 1, it's born of a Talmudic dispute that goes back 1,500 years or more, 1,800 years or 1,900 years between the majority of the rabbis, Rabbi Tarfon. He says 5, they say 4, we pour a 5th, we don't drink it. Problem with that is, why not one for each person there? So we're going to therefore go to the next answer, which is the second theory, which is a little bit more hopeful. Not that the other one wasn't hopeful, but that this one expresses real hope for the future. And so here we go. So the first thing to share is a little bit about the biography, the life and times of Elijah the prophet. When did he live? What was he about? I'm going to give you the quick, standing on 1 foot version of this. Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Hanavi, the main character of tonight's class, he lived about 2,800 years ago. And he lived at a time when the Jewish nation, or the kingdom of Israel itself, the land, was divided between 2 kingdoms, 2 factions. What was called the kingdom of the north and the kingdom of the south. The kingdom of the north was called Israel. The kingdom of the south was called Judah. 2 different kingdoms. What happened? It was after the reign of Rehoboam, or during the reign of Rehoboam, which was the son of King Solomon. So he levied high taxes on the people. The people said, we're not paying the taxes. They seceded. Is that the right word? Seceded? Yeah, kind of like Texas. I'm kidding. They seceded, and I have a brother in Texas. They're always talking about it. And they had, we have our own king. We have our own kingdom. Kingdom of the north, kingdom of the south. The kings of the north were oftentimes corrupt. Sometimes even the kings of the south were corrupt. The south was where the Beis HaMikdash was, the temple was. But the north was kind of on its own. And one of the most corrupt times of corruption and horror was the time when Achav was the king. Achav, Ahab. His wife was Jezebel. And she was especially, and her husband fell in line. They were just huge fans of idolatry. Huge fans, right? Baal, Asherah, you name it, they worship. Totally not monotheistic. You're thinking, what, Judaism? Isn't the foundation of Judaism monotheism? How could a Jewish king come along and introduce anything other than monotheism? My answer to you is, I don't know, but that's what happened. That's what happened. They installed altars for foreign worship. It was crazy. It was, dare I say, bananas. All right, so what happens?
Solomon began to drift apart, drift away a little at the end of his reign.
Right.
Kind of makes sense.
It makes sense. So what happens? What happens is Elijah the prophet is dispatched by God to shake things up, to tell him what's up, to tell him what's what, to go to the king and say, hey, this is not kosher, what y'all are doing. Well, long story short, the king and queen were not too fond of Elijah's protests about idolatry. They wanted to kill him. Then he pulls some stunts. He says, if you don't stop idolatry, there's going to be a drought in the land of Israel. And for 2 years, there was a drought, not one drop of rain. And then the king accused Elijah of hurting the nation. It was a whole thing. Then Elijah calls the king and the rest of the nation to a showdown on top of the mountain, Mount Carmel, showdown between the priests and the prophets of the Baal, which was an idol, and him representing God, or the monotheistic God. And they put the animal, they created 2 altars, and they put the wood, but there was no fire. And he said, you pray for fire and I'll pray. You pray to your gods for fire, God, whatever it was, lowercase g, for fire, and I'll pray to Hashem for fire. And they prayed all day and all morning and all afternoon, and they couldn't bring fire. And he mocked them. He said, I bet you God can't hear you. Maybe he's sleeping. Maybe he's in the bathroom, right? Or maybe he's taking a phone call. You guys louder. And they start slashing, and gouging themselves, cutting themselves. Nothing, garnished, no fire. Then Elijah takes water and he douses the wood with water. Talk about the ultimate showman, right? You would expect David Copperfield to do this. He takes his wood. Not only is he going to bring fire, he pre-douses it with water. Then he puts water around the exterior. He even says, look at my sleeve. I'm kidding. He doesn't say it. He says, right. And then he says to Hashem, and then he prays. And we know what he said. He said, God, I did all this for you. Hook up a brother right now, because I'm out on a very far limb right now. Because if this doesn't work, might as well just call it a day with this Judaism business, right? Because that'll be a spectacular public failure. And indeed, God sends the fire, and it consumes the sacrifice, and all is well. And they all live. Well, they don't live happily ever after. What happens is the people say, "Oh my gosh, Hashem hu Elokim, Hashem Elokim." God is God, right? Hashem is the God, Hashem is the God. They believe in Hashem. By the way, that's the last thing we say on Yom Kippur Ne'ilah. Right before the sounding of the shofar, we say that phrase, that 3-word phrase, Hashem Elokim, 7 times. They said it, I think, twice. We say it 7 times at the end of Ne'ilah, this declaration that God is the real God. But then even after that, kind of backslid a little bit. And Elijah, he was like almost too good for this world. He was such a pure soul and pure body also, that God said, all right, come on back. And he went up to heaven in a chariot of fire, and he comes back. Tradition has it. Every Brit Milah, every circumcision ceremony, we have the chair, right, Elijah's chair. He's present. And every Seder, he comes as well. Why? Let's explore this. We have it on tradition that the one who's going to announce the coming of Mashiach, the Messiah, that the Messiah is here, the one to announce that, to herald that, herald, maybe. Yeah, herald. Not Geraldo, that was another guy. Herald, that is Elijah the prophet. He's going to be the announcer. He's the guy to say, Mashiach is coming. Where do we see this? Scripture says this. Text number 5, Malachi. Oh, I'll read this. Text 5, Malachi. The book of Malachi says the following. Why are we back all the way over there? Okay, text 5. Behold, I am sending to you Elijah the prophet before the day of God comes. In other words, before the redemption, guess who's going to be hanging around? Elijah the prophet. I mean, God says, I will send to you Elijah the prophet, and Elijah the prophet, he's going to say, Mashiach is coming, or Mashiach is here. Text number 6. Take a look at this one. I'll read this one as well. It's a verse and a Rashi. Oh, we got Rashi in. You see that? Up, we still got Rashi. I was wondering, like, I'm going to have a little withdrawal. We still got Rashi. Text 6. I will remember my covenant with Jacob, says God in Leviticus. The name, oh, this is unbelievable. This right here, and it only really works in the Hebrew, but it's unbelievable. By the way, for those that are Hebrew readers, look at the fourth Hebrew word, Yaakov. You see it's written with a vav. Very strange. So let's look in the English. Rashi says, the name Yaakov is written in full with a vav in 5 places in Scripture. And the name Elijah is written defectively without a vav in 5 places in Scripture. Look at that. So Eliyahu should have a vav. Yaakov should not have a vav. But 5 times Yaakov has a vav, and 5 times Eliyahu is missing a vav. What's up with that? Take a look at what Rashi says. Jacob took a letter vav from the name of Elijah's security. Jacob took Elijah's vav as a mashkan, as security, as like collateral, to guarantee that he would come and herald the redemption of Jacob's children. So Jacob says, okay, look, there's going to be tough times. I want you to promise that you're going to come and let them know it's all going to be okay. Yeah, no. I'm taking your letter. The commentators say, why 5 times? It's like a handshake. It's a handshake, right? 5 fingers. So 5 fingers kind of like connected. So Yaakov takes the vav from Elijah's name and says, you're going to get it back when Mashiach comes. You get it back when you fulfill your promise to let us know, to let my children know that everything's going to be good and that the redemption is here. What's the point of all this? So that's beautiful, but let's get back. Let's make sure we don't lose the train of thought. The train of thought is, and the point is, that Elijah heralds the redemption. He announces it. Okay, great. Now, when is the redemption coming? When is Mashiach coming? When is the Messiah coming? Well, if there's any month for the Messiah to come, it's the month of Nisan, the month that we're in right now. Why? Because it's called in Jewish books, Chodesh HaGeulah. It's the month of redemption. Why is it the month of redemption? Because the original redemption from Egypt happened in this month. So what better month to herald or to actually occur the final redemption than the month that was originally the month of redemption? This is text number 7. Let's look at text 7. Text 7, this is coming from the Talmud. The Talmud says, in the month of Nisan, we were redeemed from Egypt. And in the month of Nisan, we will be redeemed again. How do we know this? For the verse states, regarding Passover Eve, it is a night of anticipation for God. This means that it's a night that has been anticipated since the 6 days of creation as the date of the final redemption. Leil Shimurim, date of anticipation. By the way, Shimurim doesn't really mean literally anticipation. It means watching. That's why many have the custom to leave their doors unlocked, right? To leave there, some, maybe not the whole night, but whatever, a little bit. We open up the door, as I said before. Leil Shimurim, it's a night of watching. God watches our houses. But it's also, Shimurim can also mean watch and anticipate. It's a night that has been designated for the redemption from the beginning of time. So now let's put ourselves in our shoes at the Seder. What happens? At the Seder, what are we doing? We're recounting the Exodus. And as we're recounting the Exodus, we're thinking, wow, what an opportune time for the final redemption to come. If we were redeemed on this night from Egypt, maybe this is the night. Now we know who's the one that announces it, Elijah. So we go to the door and we open up the door. Why do we open up the door? Because we're expecting who to be there? Elijah. If there's any night for Mashiach to come, if there's any night for the redemption to come, it's the night of the Seder. So what do? We open the door. You said your son said, you said Andy, right? Said, what car does he drive? But it turns out that that question of waiting for him to come in is exactly what we're talking about. It. We open up the door fully expecting that maybe this is the time that Elijah's going to come. But what if he's actually there by the door? What's he going to drink? So we pour him a cup of wine. You see this? We pour him a cup of wine, and it's a Mashiach cup of wine. If Mashiach, assuming Elijah comes right now to announce this is it, that all the bad times are ending, now it's only good times. Assuming he comes right now at the Seder, toward the end of the Seder, we'll have a glass of wine ready. Well, you're gonna invite him in and start scrambling to pour him something. Can I get you a beverage? You have the beverage poured, you have the cup of Elijah poured. You open up the door, you're ready to go. Take a look. You want to see this?
I told you I was coming. Like,
yeah. He's like, yeah. I said, it's in script. Malachi says, it says in Malachi, God says, I'm going to send Elijah on the before the redemption. When's the redemption? It's going to happen now. So we're opening up the door. You got to have a beverage. Yeah, you got to have it ready. What are you going to have? A seltzer? You have a seltzer? What are you going to have? Right? So what if he doesn't like carbonation? Got to have some wine.
I think we're both going to need.
Yeah. That's it. Yeah, you gotta have a little one. All right, text number 8. I love this. This is now our second answer, our second explanation. It's the one that I think Jay was, I'm pretty sure Jay was talking about before. Text 8. The Chok Yaakov says the following. In numerous places, it is customary to leave the doors unlocked on Passover Eve. For in the month of Nisan, we were redeemed from Egypt, and in Nisan, we'll be redeemed again. As it says, it is a night of anticipation for God, which means, this is all repeat, which means a night that has been anticipated since there's 6 days of creation is the date of the final redemption. Okay, let's continue. If Elijah indeed arrives, he will find an open door, and we will be able to go out to greet him quickly. Indeed, we believe that he will arrive. It is customary in our regions to pour one additional cup. We call it Elijah's cup. Why? Because we fully expect Elijah to walk in. My friends, this is now the second answer as to why the cup of Elijah. The first answer was, well, it's to satisfy the opinion of Rabbi Tarfon, who says 5 cups. So instead of drinking the 5th cup, we pour it. But then we asked, but then why doesn't everybody pour it? So now we have another answer. It's not about another opinion. It's not Rabbi Tarfon. It's about a firm belief in the redemption, a firm belief that Mashiach is coming, a firm belief that better times are ahead, a firm belief that the one to announce that will be Elijah. On the night of the Seder, the night that we're celebrating Geula redemption, what do we say? We declare to ourselves, to our families, and to anyone around our table, we declare that we believe. We believe that better times await. We don't believe that this is as good as it gets. As good as it gets? It's good. We're blessed. But as good as it gets? No way. It's going to get much better. And because of that belief, we believe that all the time. Maimonides says, one of his 13 principles of faith, you got to believe this every single day of your life. Every day we should anticipate the redemption. But if there's any day of all the days that Mashiach would come, it's the night of the Seder. And so we pour him a tall glass of wine. We unlock the doors. We even open up the door and we say, Elijah, come on in. We've been waiting for you. What was that commercial, Motel 6? We'll leave the light on for you. We'll leave the light on for you implies that you'll figure it out. This is not you'll figure it out. This is we're waiting for you. We got a glass of wine. We even have some matzah left over if that is your style, right? We are ready to go with your cup. That's why not everyone has to pour a glass. I mean, how many l'chaims is Elijah going to say? He's 1 cup of wine. 1 cup of wine for the traveling Elijah. He's going around from house to house, letting everybody know it's happening. This is before WhatsApp. You understand? This is more of a manual experience. So he's going to have to show up, and we have a cup of wine. Some people leave the doors unlocked. Either we open up the door, we welcome him in, and that's it. Now I want to add just one final thing. So we have 2 explanations, right? One more technical and legal, one more symbolic, hopeful, and spiritual. I want to end with the following question. Quick question and answer. According to the second explanation, we got a problem. I mean, not a huge problem, but a slight question here. The earliest we can trace this custom for Elijah's cup, it's about 500 years old. Now, hold on. I want to be very clear. It doesn't mean it wasn't done before that. Just we don't know. There's no written record of Elijah's cup being poured. The earliest record we have is from around the year 1470. From around the year 1470, which is about 555 years ago, if my math is correct, right? 555. That's when the first time we find a written record of Elijah's cup as a custom tradition by the Seder. Simple question is, assuming that it wasn't done until that point in time, why not? What happened 500 years ago? Why wasn't it done before then?
1492, the expulsion from.
Okay,
Spain.
but this is a little bit before that, right? 1470 is a little bit like 2 decades before.
Okay.
But the question is like, what's going on? And if it's about belief in the Messiah, belief in the Mashiach coming and Elijah kind of announcing that, why didn't the greats of yesteryear do that? Why? Like, it's weird, right?
Do they think Elijah was closer to coming during that?
Well, that's
time?
the thing. If like Elijah, Judaism has this teaching. It's in the text. We could read it also, but like generations typically go down spiritually. It's like, there's a statement. Let's read it inside very quickly. There's a statement from our sages, text 9a from the Talmud tractate Shabbat. If the early generations are like sons of angels, we are the sons of men. In other words, we're low. And if the earlier generations are like men, then we're like donkeys. Whatever they are, we're lower. And not like the donkeys of Rabbi Chanina ben Doser or Rabbi Pinchas ben Yair, but like regular donkeys. I mean, that's like run-of-the-mill donkeys. Like, wow. What does that mean? It's not about being self-deprecating. It's saying even in Talmudic times, back in the day, you had real giants. And us, I don't know, we're not so giant spiritually. And so you ask the question, you wonder, seems like a pretty strong question. If the giants didn't pour a cup of Elijah, when they certainly believed in Mashiach, and certainly you imagine that it was probably very close then, who are we to have the chutzpah to say, oh, it's going to happen now? Where are we, little schnooks? Little schnooks, right? I want to share with you the following as we close out tonight's class with a message of hope. It's very easy to say, well, if they didn't do it, how could we do it? But it's almost letting ourselves off the hook.
Mhm.
Because every day that passes and every generation that passes, you're always building on the prior accomplishments. So you're gonna say, but they were giants and they couldn't accomplish it. How could we bring Mashiach? How could we finally bring about that time? You know what? You can have a giant that still can't see over the fence, over the wall. But you put a little person on the giant's shoulders and they can see over. Why? You have a giant, but you know what? Maybe you needed another 5 feet. Maybe you needed another 5.5 feet, right? You need the average person on top of the giant's shoulders. The message for us is as follows. We might be puny, tiny compared to the giants of the past, but that's just the tiny that might be needed to push us over the edge. I liken it to those games, when you take the kids to the arcades, those like indoor arcades with the bowling and it's like a mini Vegas for kids, flashing lights, spend money. There's cards now. It used to be coins. There's one game, I think it is with coins actually, where you put in like a coin. There's this like bunch of coins and there's a moving platform. And if you put in the coin, then you tip over the rest of the coins and then you get tickets. And then you get like, after spending like $30, you might get an eraser, which seems like a very valuable investment in funds. But that's all in good fun. What's going to tip the scales? Sometimes you think, to tip the scales, you need a big, nuclear reaction and whatever. Maybe not. Maybe just one little thing. Maybe just one ordinary person. Maybe just you and I. One normal person. No Moses, no Aaron, no Rabbi Akiva, no Rabbi Meir, no Rabbi Yehuda, no Rabbi Tarfon, no Rambam, no Ramban, no Baal Shem Tov, no Arizal, just us, just you and I. I'm not putting us down. I'm just saying, this is what we might think. What about just me? Yeah, maybe just you and I. Doing one little thing can make it happen. Maybe in earlier generations, they didn't need this reminder, but in our generation, we need this reminder that Elijah's at the door. All it takes is one action to open that door and welcome him in. And when we do that, the world changes for good. For good. That's the play. That's the angle. So why the fifth cup? It's a reminder that everything we say at the Seder is all about the past. What about the future? And so we end the Seder, the Shana Haba Yerushalayim, next year in Jerusalem, because we believe that Elijah is soon going to come through that door, take a swig and say, folks, we out. Time to bounce. Time to get out of Dodge. Next up, Jerusalem. You know, we have the tradition that we're going to fly on the wings of birds and in the clouds. Airplanes? Sounds right. Sounds just about right. Imagine if you lived then and you had a vision of an airplane, you would probably call it flying on the wings of birds. Anyway.
They say next year in Jerusalem and Israel for the Seder.
I believe so. Because it's not about actually being in Jerusalem. It's about everyone being in Jerusalem and in that state of redemption. So why the fifth cup? Number one, reminds of Rabbi Tarfon. Number two, reminds us of our hope for the future. We're not letting that go. We're not thinking of ourselves less. We're not self-deprecating. We're not employing false humility to say, who, me? What? I can't do it. If my mommies didn't do it, I can't do it. No. You can do it. I can do it. We can do it. Together, we got this. I want to wish everybody a happy Passover. Wishing you lots of blessings. May your Seder be uplifting. May it be meaningful. And may it always be infused with this measure of hope. Hope that has not wavered from our people for the last 2,000 years. Since the destruction of the temple, we've always held on to this hope. May indeed this be the last, well, no, even before Passover, we should be reunited with all of our loved ones, present and past. And it should be a Seder like none other, Seder to remember. And let us say, Amen.
Amen.
Thank you for joining me tonight for Torah Studies and Pesach Boot Camp. A quick message from our not from our sponsor, but a quick scheduling message. No Torah Studies next week. We are off due to the holiday of Passover. But in 2 weeks' time, we are back and better than ever with our next Torah Studies class. So stay tuned for that. I want to thank David Block for helping sponsor tonight's class. David, thank you very much. Shakot, David. And any questions, comments?
That
Great
was
to
nice
see
to
you.
hear the story.
That as Shabbat ends, and as we enter the darkness of the work week, the normal routine, we're reminded of our hope of a better time. You have to turn on our phones now and check our emails. Elio, Anavi, where are you, man? Where are you, bro?
So, Rabbi, I have a
Yeah.
question, a halachic question. Can you go through the candle lighting starting with Shabbat because of the way Pesach falls this year?
Very important. By the way, if y'all want to hear this, I'll go through even more than that. Just a few very important things that you got to do. So usually we search for chametz the night before the Seder. But the night before the Seder this year is Friday night. So we're not doing, so we bump it up to Thursday night. So what's today? Tuesday. So in 2 nights from tonight, 48 hours. 48 hours. No, in 48 hours, we are going to search for the chametz. The way you do that is you put out 10 pieces of bread around your house, turn off the lights, take a candle, and you search for them. You say a blessing after you find them. And hopefully you find all of them. Typically, if you have 2 people in the house, one hides, one searches, and that's how it's done. Then on Friday morning, you would burn the remaining chametz, say some of the prayers. Shabbos, Friday night is.
So when do you stop eating chametz?
Oh,
When you search or
no,
when you burn?
neither. When you search Thursday night, you can still be eating. Friday morning, when you burn it, you can still be eating. Friday afternoon, it's not Pesach yet. It's all good. Friday night, Shabbat meal, you can have like regular. I mean, obviously, if your house is kosher for Passover, you got to figure that out. I'm sure whoever cleans does not want those crumbs in that house. You might want to eat over a bag or outside on the porch or some other way that's like Passover friendly, right? That's what we're going to do. Oh, so right here in the synagogue, they're having a Friday night meal for that reason, so that people can keep their houses clean. The synagogue's going to take one for the team right there.
So are we eating chametz like throughout the day?
Well, hold on. So throughout the night, so Friday night chametz, so candlelighting. So to make sure we address the original question. So candlelighting Friday night is the normal candlelighting. However, light an additional candle that is a 24-hour or more, 24-hour plus candle, so that you can have a pre-existing flame for the lighting Saturday night. Because then you can light another one from there, right? You can always light another.
Do you need a pre-existing flame for Sunday night?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, but you can light one from the other. So you can light another yard site licht. You can light another 24-hour candle Saturday night, etc. So so Friday night, yeah.
I just want to make sure that you remind people to sell their chametz before Thursday.
Yes. Also sell your chametz. Easy peasy. Go on Chabad.org and just Google Chabad, sell your chametz. It's an easy form of Chabad.org. You sell your chametz, you're done. Next. So that's taken care of. Thursday night, you look for the chametz. Friday morning, you burn the chametz. But you're burning this year more symbolic. Usually you burn it and then it's over. This year, you burn it a day before because you're not burning it on Shabbos. So you burn it the day before, so it's almost like symbolically burning it. You're still going to have some chametz around. Friday night, you light the candles. You light an additional candle to have a pre-existing flame for the next day. So it's got to be not a tea light. It's got to be a 24, like a yard site candle, at least 24 hours. Get a 26-hour one. Yeah, by the way, like a 3-day candle. Yeah. Get whatever makes you comfortable. Exactly. Any Publix or Kroger anywhere, like they always have these candles. You're good to go. Yeah. No, not even. Just come from any Kroger Publix. They always have the.
So what do you do about making hamotzi on Shabbos itself? Outside.
So let's go. Let's do that. So Friday night, look, you could have it inside, but then you have to clean again. It's not a good idea. Best thing to do is, first of all, plan that your meal should be mainly kosher for Passover, with the exception of a little bit of the challah. You can't eat matzah. You can't eat matzah before the Seder already. Most people do it already for a month beforehand, not to eat matzah, so that we have the taste fresh in our mouths. So no matzah Friday night. You got to eat chametz. You got to eat actual challah. So what do you challah? Exactly. Eat it outside. Eat it over a bag. Eat it in some way that you are not spreading crumbs. Don't be a super spreader. Okay, that's that. Then that's Friday night. Saturday morning is where it becomes complicated. Because if you recall, every year you burn the chametz in the morning and it's over, which means that you have to have your last chametz in the morning. I don't know the exact time. It's maybe 10, 11 o'clock.
It's 11:27.
11:27. Around 11:30. So you have to finish your chametz. Well, you have a Shabbos meal. So now you got to start services early. So for example, here, services are usually 9:45, 10. This Shabbos, 8:15. Now I know many shows 8:15 is normal. But here for Chabad, who's getting up that early? 8:15. Crazy. This year we do it. 8:15. 8:15 Shachris. You're over by, 10, 10:30. And then you have an hour to have a meal. I mean, whatever. You can have a longer meal, but you eat a little chametz. You eat a little bit more challah. And then you're done. Either you finish the entire challah that you have, or you flush the remainder down the toilet. You got it because you can't burn it on Shabbos. You don't create fire on Shabbos. You don't even put it in your thing. No. You got to finish. Don't buy extra challah. Don't buy a whole thing. Buy a few small rolls and just knock it out. Little baba ganoush for the road, right? So that's what you want to do. You want to Friday night you have a little challah and then a meal, and then Shabbos morning early meal and challah with challah. And then you're done. You eat no more chametz from after 11:30-ish, after 11:27, from Saturday morning. That's it. For 7 days, 8 days, whatever the holiday is, no more chametz. That means no more cookies, no more pretzels, no more challah, no more cakes, nothing. So what are you gonna eat?
Finish the whole column.
I don't know, matzah and bananas. I don't know, eggs, whatever you want to eat. But not that.
Potatoes.
Okay, there you go, potatoes. Pleasure. Chag Sameach. Oh, perfect. All right, good. So that's it. It's a little bit tricky this year because of the Shabbos. Somebody said it's not going to happen. No, that was Purim. It's not going to happen for a while. All right, whatever. Yeah, it happens every so often. 11.
Okay.
Anything 11.
Everything.
So the only the only bread-like item that you can eat is matzah.
Okay.
So that's it. So matzah, but we don't want to eat matzah before the Seder. We want to keep it fresh. You'll be like, oh, more matzah? No, it's got to be matzah. You're going to be excited about matzah. Yeah, don't eat too much matzah. Yeah, hold on, slow it down. You got to eat at the Seder. You got to eat the right amount of matzah, which is a kazayas. That's X number of grams.
Is that the Seder? Or the two Seder?
At the Seder.
You don't have to eat matzah all week.
Yeah, you don't have to eat matzah the whole week.
I was about to say, it
Probably
kind
not.
of seems like we're eating a lot of bread.
Well, no, you don't have to create. You can eat anything, like avocado, eat whatever you want, fruits and vegetables. Matzah, you can say.
Okay.
Now, one more thing about this.
You're not supposed to eat matzah till Saturday night.
Correct.
So what
Correct.
are you supposed to eat between Saturday morning and Saturday night?
I don't know.
You can't eat matzah.
Oranges, peel oranges. I don't know. Oranges, bananas.
Sure.
No, that's cholent. I don't know. Whatever. You can't just no bread and no matzah. Saying the whole Shabbos day. I know you have from the morning to the night. What are we gonna eat? I don't know. One thing is for sure: no bread and no matzah, no carbs. So figure, after that we got to figure it out. Now, one second. Yeah, what is it?
To come back to the chametz, can you eat, the challah, I understand, because for Shabbat, but
Yeah.
can you eat chametz until Saturday?
Yeah.
then?
Absolutely.
Oh, you can.
Yeah, you can have cake. You can make brownies,
Even though
but you have to finish it. Most people are going to want to be as minimalistically chametz as possible over Shabbos because you don't have a lot of wiggle room here. It's early Saturday morning. It'll also be gone. And where's it going to go? What are you doing with it?
And
Oh.
also because you're
It has to-
supposed
I'm not
to
baking a cake because what am I going to do with the whole cake? Friday morning.
Friday. Sorry,
Yeah, but that's symbolic. That's more symbolic.
So bread has to be out of your house.
Out.
Okay.
Out.
Okay, I see why you're talking about not getting too much.
No, hey, don't get too much. You have to have some for it's again. Or locked away, exactly. Locked away.
Lots of potatoes.
Potatoes, whatever you
potato
have.
salad.
You can eat whatever. I mean, there's so many things to eat. I just can't think of any foods right now. But there's so many more foods other than bread and matzah. Turns out there's a lot of food. You can have kosher for Pesach, 7-layer cake. Whatever, yeah. Just go nuts with the kosher for Pesach stuff. You can have those fruit gems, those fruit jelly things. You can have those chocolates in the shape of matzah, whatever. But not matzah. All right, good. What else? What else did I want to share? What else is important?
Havdalah.
Yeah, but that's part of the Friday. It's part of Saturday night. Yeah,
Yeah.
when you do the Seder, just get a Haggadah, Maxwell House or whatever. You
Right.
download one, or you can download
The one from
Sweet Freeman's is great.
The Seder takes place.
Sweet Freeman as well.
Yeah, that's the one from Chabad.org. He wrote that. Yeah, he's legit. He's the real deal. So go to Chabad.org, download it, print it out if you want, or you can order it from them, order on Amazon. I'm sure if you have one, great. You can. There's so many places to get a Haggadah. Make sure you have one, and then just follow. If it says if it's Saturday night, then that's where your eyes. Oh, it is Saturday night. Boom, you pick it up for the first Seder. Seder 1 is Saturday night. Seder 2 is Sunday night. So you light candles Friday night, only Shabbos blessing, but you light a second, light another candle before you do the blessing. Light another candle. Saturday night, you use the pre-existing flame to light your holiday candles before the Seder, and then you can light another 24-hour candle to have it for second night, which the second Seder, which is Sunday night. Wow, it's a 3-day holiday. Holy cow. Shabbos, Sunday, Monday. A lot of partying. All right. Hopefully we make it through to the other side. I'm
So the
kidding.
Yom Tov ends then Monday night at like 8:30 or whatever.
Let me get my head straight here. So it starts Saturday night to Sunday night to Monday night, correct? Right. It will end Monday night after nightfall, after like
Yeah.
3 stars or nightfall. Yeah,
Right.
exactly. So
This
we're going
Monday
straight from Friday night to Monday night.
Okay.
Shabbos, Sunday, Monday, 3
Friday.
days,
It's like how
72 hours. And it's a marathon. But honestly, what a great marathon.
Right.
You get to hang out, chill with family, friends, community, synagogue, eat food,
really
crunch
correct.
matzah. Hopefully everyone's teeth are okay. It's a lot of chewing. Oh, if you're doing an early Seder, for whatever reason, I meant to say this. If you want to Seder, the Seder should ideally be after it's dark. But if you're starting early or whatever it is, make sure to eat matzah, at least some matzah after nightfall.
And drink the 4 cups.
I mean, the 4 cups is rabbinic, so at least get the biblical thing in. Yeah, at least get the biblical. The matzah is the only thing biblical. At least get the matzah in after it's dark. If for whatever reason the Seder starting earlier, you can even eat matzah earlier, whatever. But just make sure to also get it in after nightfall, because that's like the core mitzvah. You want to get it in
This is gonna sound
when
kinda
the getting's
crazy.
good.
Like, where would I acquire matzah? Do I make it? Do I
No.
persevere?
Oh,
You
go to
just-
Costco.
Okay.
Go to any store.
Yeah,
Stores will have it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. I'm like, I need
Just
matzah
make
for
sure,
Passover.
because there's all kinds of kosher
For
for
Passover,
Passover.
yeah.
Yeah, you want to get
Okay.
that Passover kosher
Okay,
deal.
awesome.
All right, I think that's it. I mean, there's a
Thank you, Rabbi.
pleasure. Any more
Thank you so
questions? Feel
much.
free to call or text. Lisa, Mom, David, Larry, Dr. Maxie, David.
Okay.
Thank you again, David. Danny, Susan, Ozia. Good to see you all. Have a wonderful evening. Have a good week. Chag Sameach. All these blessings. All right, we'll see you all. Take care.
Good
Sending lots of love.
Shabbos. Good
Thank you.
Shabbos.